Hi, welcome to Moody Avenue. Moody Avenue is a family-centered extension of Soul Dialogue. Moody Avenue is a space where every family member, young or old, can express their thoughts, their emotions, and their experiences in a safe family environment. Moody Avenue was birthed through a meeting that our family had in 2017. We came together, and it was the very first time our family came together to have a meeting or be together where it wasn't a holiday, we weren't cooking, we just came together and we began to just talk and learn who each other are. We learned who our parents were. We learned who they were as children. We learned what they experienced in life. And I believe in that moment that our family became a living, breathing organism. I believe in that moment that we no longer were separate, but we all began to come together as a unit where we began to understand and know each other's rhythms and tones and how we move throughout the world. And so I'm excited that my family, interestingly, the name of our family house is Moody. It's on Moody Avenue. So I think it's very ironic that the name of this podcast is called Moody Ave. And I'm excited to have my siblings here with me. I have my youngest brother, my youngest sister. I have my brother who's under me. He thinks he's older than me. But I have my brother here who's under me. And my oldest brother and my older sister are not here, but they'll be at the next one. So I'm going to allow you guys to introduce yourselves, however you want to introduce yourselves and whatever you want to say. I'll start with my baby brother, Marcus.
I'm Marcus. Second time joining here for one of these podcasts here with my big sister, and I'm honored to be here. Like she said, I'm the baby of the family. So hello all.
My name is Monica. I am the wife of Marcus, and I'm happy to be here as well.
All right, and I'm Tamika. I am the baby girl, and the middle child, and I think I consider myself as the center right now of our family.
And I agree. I am Derek, and I am Lisa's big little brother, a little big brother, however y'all want to say it. And I too am the middle, and I think the middle will hold the family pretty well. Tamika, myself, we pretty cool, huh?
Yes, we are.
Grateful to be here with my big sister Lisa, and I thank you for doing what you're doing. I think it brings us closer together as a unit. So thank you so much.
So, a quick icebreaker. If our family had a team motto, what would it be?
Definitely me. I say definitely God first, because I don't think we had a generation in our family where that skipped. I think we all were born and rooted with that foundation of just knowing, and being rooted in God. So I would say God first.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a pretty tough question. Definitely God first. We've always been taught, to put God first. But also I think that I would say that we are the kindest family in the world. I mean, geesh, we always doing something for somebody. And just, giving back. I could say that we're just a kind family. So I would stop there.
I'd say we are a very loving and caring family. Tamika just said it, and it took me back quickly. I don't think there's ever been a time when I've lived on Honorary or Moody where we did not have somebody else that was in the house with us, that we were helping, that Dad and them just allowed to be a part. And we accepted those people as our family and treated them like they were. There was some times we wanted to say, you are not. But really, we were very caring. I look at Tamika a lot of times even. Now, Lisa kind of looked like my mom, but Tamika has a lot of my mom's ways. And so I look at that a lot of times, and I can really see what they instilled in us through what I see even through the family. All of us are pretty mild mannered, so I just really believe that we are a very loving and caring family.
I'd just like to add to that too. From what you were saying, being on the South Side, I was small, and I don't remember a whole lot about the South Side, but I remember hearing a whole lot of the stories about how, as a family, we would take people in and we would feed them and take care of them and shelter them and all of those things. But I can say that we've experienced it greatly as I've grown up, moving from the South Side to the West Side to where I guess that legacy has kind of continued and passed on. And just to add with that, I think it goes hand in hand too, because the Bible tells us that God is love,
Right.
and that's why I believe that still breaks down to being the foundation of the giving and the loving and the caring. So
That's good.
Yeah, because I think of the scripture in Matthew where it says, when I was hungry, you did not feed me, or you did feed me, right? When I didn't have any clothes, you clothed me, right? When I didn't have any place to stay, you brought me in, right? So I think about that, and that is the epitome of mom, right? Because the door was always open to whoever, whenever, whatever they needed. She always made sacrifices and made sure that they were cared for just as we were cared for.
Absolutely.
Right. And so before we get too deep in it, Monica, as being our sister, I'm not going to say sister-in-law because you're our sister.
Right.
You've been married long enough now where you are our sister, right? So as being our sister, you are no longer on the outside. But when you first encountered us, if we had a family motto, what would it be to you?
So I am from a small family, and like being around a lot of you all, it was like, wow. It was like every weekend.
It's a lot.
Yeah, every holiday. Every time I came over there, it was some cooking. I'm like, I was like excited. Like going in the kitchen, like, what Big Annie make? What she make today?
Right.
But just the family, that part. And, seeing everybody come in from the outside. And y'all welcome them in and stuff like that.
So as you can see, we have a very large family. It's 6 of us. We're three girls and 3 boys. So we're the Black Brady Bunch. 3 girls and 3 boys. I believe it's about 19 grandchildren. And probably
we get next episode. We add
like we have a really huge family, right? And as I stated in that family meeting in 2017, that was the first time, and I just realized a couple of days ago that it was 4 generations of us in one room.
Wow.
And that, I think that's powerful in hindsight. Because most times when you have that many generations of a family coming together in one setting, it's either for a funeral or it's either for Christmas or Thanksgiving. So the fact that we were able to come together and in that moment begin to knit ourselves together as a family, I think is very powerful. And I think that I don't believe in coincidences. I really don't believe in ironic. I believe that this is God-centered for us to be here.
Absolutely.
With the title of Moody Ave, right? Absolutely. So I think that this moment is very pivotal and critical with the world that we're living in today and how things are going with so many other things. So back to our conversation. So Marcus, as you were saying a few minutes ago, that you did not really experience Honorary Avenue because, as you're right, in 1985, you were born in 82. So you were probably 3. You were not even 3 yet.
Right.
You were almost 3 when we moved to the West Side.
Exactly.
And so as being the youngest and the one having the deepest roots to Moody Avenue, what does Moody Avenue mean to you?
It's for memories, foundation, it's just like to me, even though it has always stood this way, even though it's the place where our middle sister, is her home, and she's holding it down. But it's always been to me a place that you could just go to relax, to think, family oriented. And I just think of it just as the foundation. Moody Avenue to me is the rock and the foundation of the family. And it's ironic that she carries the spirit that she has as our mom has. She's the one that's holding it down to this day, even though it's been done over and she's taken it to newer heights and higher levels. But I just think that it's a blessing, and it's ironic, like I said, that she's the one that's holding it down. And to me, you are the center. You are the kind of that strength that's knitting it all together, whether you know it or not. So thank God for you.
And I would really say, even in both ways, because not only do I see mom in her from a perspective, I see dad in her from another perspective. Because my dad was a guy that
Yes.
he was a stickler.
Is.
But he was also funny.
Yeah.
But he also believed that you should do business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also believed that you should do business, that you should, hey, get your credit right, pay your bills, do the things. And Tamika has all of those things in her. So I'll even say that to you today. I look up a lot to her because she was doing a lot of what I wasn't doing, because I was on the road. I lived a fast life. I was out doing music. I was out doing all kinds of stuff. When I was doing it. That's what it was. I wasn't concerned about a lot of that until I came back to say, hey, I got to get this together. And I was able to see Tamika in a lot of ways doing a lot of things. And so when I think of Moody, I simply think of home.
Yeah.
I just simply think of home, because home is a place where you can relax. Home is a place where you can settle in. Home is a place where you can go and be comfortable. Even I just came in today. It's comfortable. Why? Just go there because this is familiar. This is what was really built for us to be able to come and share and do, and it's always been that way. When I first came to Moody, I wasn't happy. Everything I did was on the south side. I played sports. I did everything, and I wasn't just a sports player. I was kind of the man in the sports I was playing. So for me to leave Moody, leave Honorary, I was like, I don't want to go to no Moody. So every weekend I was going back to the south side until I had to discover, you know what, Moody is my home. Whether I liked that or not, Moody was my home, and I grew into Moody. Hummerson Park became my park. The street became my street. Everything that was there, everything that our dad, our mom wanted to see, they moved us there because they saw something in Moody. Dad, a lot of y'all don't even know, Dad tried to move down the street. He didn't even want to move on Moody. It was some better places that he was going to move us in, and the realtor just told him, no, for particular purposes. They said, no, don't. Y'all ain't ready to move there for the trouble you would have. Don't move down there. So he wound up moving on Moody. So I'm thankful, that we just got an opportunity to really come together. I wasn't there in 2017, but one thing I can say I've always had with my brothers and sisters is love. I've always loved my brothers and sisters. I've always wanted the best for them. And that's because, again, that's all I knew from my mom and dad, was to want the best for people. So I really thank God for Moody and what it has been in my life.
Absolutely. Okay, preacher. Can't even talk without sounding like a preacher. Anyway, Tamika, as Marcus said, as the custodial of the family house on Moody, you were right next to him with the deepest roots in Moody. So what does Moody Avenue mean to you?
Like you guys already said, it's home. That's where everything really started developing. From me going into a teenager into adulthood, it's home. It's where all of our children lived. Their kids, some of the, my children don't have kids, but our nieces and nephews, their kids, everyone say that's Granny them house. You know, it doesn't matter the fact that I'm living there now.
Right.
That's just home. It's just where everyone comes and we can gather and just be us. We don't have to worry about, you know, it's just family. It's home. That's what Moody Avenue means to me. I mean, yes, I'm, you know, residing there now. But at the same time, when I'm there alone, it's just a sweet spirit. I'm not gonna lie. It's just, you know, and that's just home. That's all I can say. It's just home, and I'm glad to be, you know, residing and staying there now. So, you know, we'll see what happens in the future, but we're here now. So, yes.
Sis?
So Moody to me is family. Door open all the time and cooking. That's all I got to say.
Good cooking.
Food.
Good food, though.
Right.
What I find interesting is growing up, me and Derek and Terry and my sister Shantae, we grew up on Honorary. So we used to live on the south side, 7522 South Honorary.
Right.
And in that house, the same thing that's happening now on Moody Avenue is the same thing that happened on Honorary. Right? Our door was always open. We always had somebody living with us, whether it was 1 people, 3 people, or 5 people. Right? Mom and Annie were always cooking.
Always.
Every Sunday after service, our house was the hub house.
That's right.
That everybody came to for dinner. They would cook every Sunday chicken. We was having chicken or pork chops and potato salad and sweet peas every Sunday.
That's right.
And if another family came over, they had their White Castle, or another family brought their chicken or whatever they wanted to, you know, have for their family. But our family has always been the hub, has always been the center where people came to gather and felt comfortable and felt like family. And I think that is a testament to Mom, right? Because Mom always had open arms. She always had a big heart for everyone, right? And so I'm grateful for that, for Mom. So I was gonna have a question for Terry, but you know he's not here. And so a few years ago in 2014, our house went through a complete gutting out, a complete transformation. And as I was sitting thinking about today's show, I thought about, as the house went through a complete transformation, how do you think that with the house going through a transformation, how did it affect us going through our transformation, right? Because during those years, that was before 2017, right? So the house went through a complete transformation. We were all separate. I was living in Georgia. I think Tamika was living with her then mother-in-law. I think you were living with our cousin, and my mom and dad was living with my auntie. So we were all in separate places, which is something that had never happened to us before, right? And so the house went through a 3.5 year, 4 year,
too long.
complete gutted transformation. So how do you think with the house being transformed relates to us being transformed and coming together as a living organism? How do you think that relates, that 3.5, 4 year time? And then after that, we go through a transformation. How do you think that relates?
That's a good question.
It's pretty deep.
For me, I would say it was a point of maturity, because at that point, I was no longer paying $300, you know, rent. You know, that I had for my room with my kids and everything. You know, it went from $300 to $1,200, $1,500. So that definitely, it was definitely a change in my mindset as far as what I needed to do. During the process, it was definitely challenging as well, because I had 2 children in high school. So, and one was, you know, almost out south, and the other was going to Providence, but he was living in suburbs, so it wasn't an easy commute. So not being with them or placing my son was doing a lot of basketball in AAU, so he was getting home late, and the workload was a lot, and his grades began to slip. So for the children, I think it was a big transformation for them as well, and trying to deal with not being together with the person that's been taking care of you the entire time. And I did, I think they had some resentment because it's like, what are we doing, we're out here 5, 6 o'clock in the morning trying to get to work. I'm trying to go to work, trying to make it. And then it was just, so for me, it was a learning process of me growing up and saying, hey, you got to stand on your own too. You have 2 children. You're about to go into something that $300 ain't going to do. You have to, get your funds together. So it was a transformation mentally for me, I would say.
Okay.
Good question. I don't know. I look at everything just about also from a spiritual standpoint. There's a tearing down that has to be done, and that's what God does even before He builds you back up and make you into who He wants you to be. There's a tearing down. So within the house the house there, at Moody though, it was in construction for a while, and it caused all of us to go our separate ways, wherever we laid our heads or whatever the routes that we had to do. And it took us away from each other. But it allowed us to grow stronger with our small foundational circle, family, meaning us, and though our children was very young at the time, but we had to find another way to fend, and our routines and stuff like that began to change. And it was much longer, we all know, much longer than we wanted it to be. But I think that it was needed for whatever reason. We don't always know or understand, like the Bible say, our God time and our time. Sometimes we ready. But the house went through that transformation at that time for a reason, and I think we also went through a transformation at that time. With that being said, though the structure of the house was torn down and rebuilt, the spirit remained the same. Nothing changed as far as that goes. And I'm grateful for that.
Derek, you weren't there.
I was finna say, I wasn't really there to experience that. I was away. However, you do miss the getting together that we were able to do physically at the time. And I know you guys did meet different places to do different things, but just coming to Moody was different than going, anywhere else. But I believe what Mark and Mickey said is right. Sometimes I believe we are given those times to be able to go under construction, just as the house was going under construction, to keep the love, and then I believe, to now show what's been put in you with those that God has now put you over. And so it was then necessary, I believe, that, okay, I've got this love, I've got this care, I've got this support. Now it's my responsibility to put this in my family. It's my responsibility to make sure that my children will be okay, because when there's a coming back together, we still need to see that the same things have been going on, and that we didn't totally demolish it, but the construction now is even stronger than it was when we left. Now we can hold more capacity, we can hold more of whatever it is, and all of us, when we came back to Moody, because the house was much bigger, the house was much stronger. Now we as people should have been able to come back and be much stronger because of what happened. And I do believe that God put us through that, because I was used to coming home every year and doing this and doing that, but it's like, okay, well, I ain't going home because I ain't going to get a hotel, and so I'm good. So, but I really believe it helped all of us to really just build good foundation to say, okay, now it's our part to be, and that's why I'm so big, even on my own son, with responsibility, with accountability, because that's how my dad was with me, and it worked, and so I think we have to be able to carry those things that we are given, and then We don't have to be slave drivers. However, we do have to be people that will be about a certain kind of order. And so I really believe in that, and I believe that's a lot of the reason that we may have gone through that place in that time. Because the pressure wasn't on mom and dad no more. Right. They did their part.
They laid the foundation.
They did their part. They shouldn't have had to do that. Now it was up to us to come together and do what needed to be done. So that's my thought.
Although I wasn't living in Chicago when the house went under the gutting out, my daughter Jasmine was still there.
Okay.
And so she let me know not a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, she let me know, Mom, that traumatized me because I had to go find somewhere to live. You left me. That's what she told me. She said, you left me and I had to go find somewhere to live on my own. That kind of hurt me. But I also understood the space and place that I was in and what I had to go through was necessary, right? For me to become the whole person that I am today, right? And so I know a lot of times we go through things in our household and we don't really talk about it, right? Like most families, they don't talk about, you know, the trauma that they experience, you know, in their families. And we were no different. Right. Prior to that conversation in 2017, we were not a family that really talked to each other, to be honest. Right. We were not. Monica, what you saw. We were not a family that really talked to each other. Like when we came together for holidays, of course we'll be there. We have the small talk. But we were never as we are now. Right. The things that matter. We were always, and I think, not that I think, I know a lot of it had to do with our mom because our mom was a very quiet person, right? She didn't say much, right? She kept a lot of things in to herself. She dealt with a lot of things on her own, right? She didn't really, I don't even think we really even saw Mom get mad too much.
Not really.
Right? She may have gotten mad at something we said, or if she thought, what you say?
And slapped us.
Right.
That's where you knew she was mad.
I was just going to say.
I had a couple of them times.
Or she thought that we were cursing at her, right? Because one time she thought Tamika cursed at her, right? Tamika said
bogus.
Something. Tamika said something was bogus, and Mama thought she was cursing at her, and she slapped her, right?
Slapped my tooth out.
Never forget that.
She got Terry too.
Never forget that.
She got Terry
I didn't know your tooth that came out.
My friend were there.
He said something. She slapped him so hard. I was like, let me shut on.
I did not even know that.
I didn't know your tooth came out.
Yeah,
I did not know your tooth came out.
My friends were there. I was like,
Oh, damn. It was in the living room. I didn't know your tooth.
I remember it was in the living room because we had that French provincial blue or white furniture at that time. And it was right by the door in front of that chair that was sitting next to the door.
Was it at least loose already?
I don't know.
Oh, you know what doing.
No, I did not know that.
Wow.
And so, yes, that was our mother. She really didn't have much to say, but she was a very strict disciplinarian. And that the disciplinarian came in the form of talking to, right? The disciplinarian came in the form of, because like we had Bible class all the time, right? Like when we were younger, we had Bible class on Saturdays, right? So much to the point where our friends knew on the block that Saturday meant Bible class time. And they came in the house and had Bible class with us every Saturday. And chicken, right? So when she finished feeding their soul, right, she gave them some food, right? And so I even think about that on Moody Avenue with our children, right? Our children and her grandchildren, she did the same thing with them, right? She had Bible class on Wednesdays. And even their friends on the block knew, Miss Coleman having Bible class, let's go to Bible class. So no matter where we were, no matter who was around, that was always a staple, right, in our house. Mom always made sure that we knew who God was. To the level of her understanding, right? Because you can't operate outside of your system of belief, right? So she only taught us and raised us in the way that she knew to be right. Right. And so I'm grateful for the foundation of that, right? And And so, yeah, we learned to not talk from our mom.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that.
Even though she didn't say verbally, don't talk about this, we learned from visually watching her.
Some things you kind of
Right.
inherit that.
Right.
You
We
know,
were
that-
conditioned not to talk about
Right.
feelings and emotions.
And that's great. And we did kind of get that from her. And I think we talked about it last time, but after understanding life, there was a need to talk. There's a need to talk when you're going through things, when you're facing challenges in life. And I believe, this is just me, I believe that one of Mama's challenges was she held so much in.
Absolutely.
She held so much in that, worry and different things can cause different stresses on your body. And so I believe she held a lot of things. And her favorite word was, I could ask her, Mom, you okay? And she simply said, I'm good. God got it. And God does have it. But in this day and hour, we need to know it's good. I tell some people, man, go sit on the couch and talk to people.
Absolutely.
Talk to
Better
somebody
get you a
professional
therapist.
if you need to. If you can't talk to your loved ones, talk to somebody so you can get that off of you. That is very, very important that we do. And to a degree, Dad too. Now, Dad would say anything, but we know he wasn't telling us everything because there were things they would go through that they didn't want to the burden of what they were going through to be upon their children. So I'd say that to all of us. Man, something going on, please call me. Call me. I don't have nothing. I can talk to Tamika, I can talk to Margaret, because now we are close enough and understand my brother ain't gonna hurt me. My sister ain't gonna hurt me. I'm talking to you from a point of helping or just listening. Sometimes people don't need nothing but that. So I would say to all of us, I know we did get that, but to a degree, it is talk to somebody if you ever feel you need to talk to someone. That's very important, I believe.
And so on a deeper level with that, in my studies and in my research, I discovered that a lot of that comes from slavery, right? A lot of that, not a lot of it, all of it comes from the environment that they grew up in, right? So during that family meeting, we discovered some of the things that our parents had went through when they were children, and it began to give me, I don't know about y'all, but it began to give me these aha moments, like, okay, that's why she don't talk. That's why they don't really like to talk about what happened when they were kids, right? They don't like to talk about that because if you think about it, our parents were born in the 40s. That's the Jim Crow era. That is what, 80 years removed from right now, right? It wasn't that far away. We think that it's far, but it wasn't that far away, especially when you think about it in a psychological and spiritual perspective, right? Because those things are lingering, right? They get in your soul. Those things take root in your soul, right? And they affect who you are. They affect how you grow up. They affect the decisions that you make. Because I think about Mom, when she first had Terry, she was a totally different person than who she was when she had me. She was a totally different person who she was than when she had Marcus and Tamika, right? So you think about all of those, although we're all in the same generation, but you think about all of those years removed and how they change and evolve over time, but yet instill the traumas that they experienced in their lifetime, right? When they were young, those things never go away. They just get to the point where they just come to just live with it, right? And they were taught, that motto, what happens in this house stays in this house. Right. And that's one of the biggest things that keep our families, especially African American families, in bondage. Right. Because we don't talk about stuff.
Right. Kind of how it was when Mickey was born.
Yeah. Like she came out of nowhere. We was like, what? We didn't even know she's pregnant. And all of a sudden, I was
looking at Mom like what?
Where'd she come from? Right.
I feel that. But then when you was born,
and then it was like,
It's time for me to get out this house.
They get too old to be fine.
Right, because I think our parents was like in their 40s,
Mom was
38.
38.
Yeah, so they were almost 40 having a baby. And we were like, what?
39.
Who gonna baby?
I remember Mama
So you gonna babysit?
Mama told me she did. She said, I did everything I could. My dad. She said, I was falling down.
Oh, wow.
She told me.
For real?
She told me that. And she said, she said, but it said, after a while, she said, Lord, it be your will. She said, I guess she was feeling what y'all was thinking.
Wow.
It was just a lot. That's all. It was just a lot. And I know, and and I love what you just said, because if she was going through that, imagine the person you had to become each time
Wow.
another person came.
That's a wow moment.
Yeah. So,
I did not know that.
She told me this, and now I'm serious.
wow. Yeah, that's
She laughed about it afterward.
Right.
She was like, but when I got pregnant with you, she was like, I did not want to be pregnant.
Wow.
And she told me though, but after she told me, she's like, oh no, this was never. She told me, no, never again. That's it.
Wow, that is so
She probably would
interesting.
tell Lord, come on, get me.
Wow,
I did.
that
Y'all didn't
is
know she was pregnant when I came?
No.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I mean, we eventually did. Of
I mean,
course,
right,
but-
we saw her when she
but,
got
you know, I
big.
like-
Oh, okay.
Right, and you know, back then they didn't really talk about stuff. We knew.
But you were. I can't lie. You were precious.
Yeah, she was beautiful.
You was precious.
She was a
It was
beautiful
beautiful
baby.
But they
It
were.
was.
They were.
Baby.
As the baby was saying, your hair, you had a beautiful hair.
Yeah, beautiful hair, the
Just-
hair, pretty.
And
brown
your
color.
arm wound up being just like Big Annie's though.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you
That's
know,
why I used to think I was hers.
the dude was Big Annie. I used to think I was Annie's.
And
I did
Cause
too.
I
was told that.
coming back to that, Moody, Honorary Moody, I stayed with Annie so much.
Me too.
Yeah, me
That
too.
it was, I like, you mom?
Andy used to hold it down.
Yeah, I
You
was
know?
actually told that I was Annie's child.
Man, wow, that's crazy.
Ain't that crazy?
That's crazy.
That is
Right.
bananas.
Yeah, that's how it was, because we can't leave her out. She was a major.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Annie.
my God.
She
Yeah,
was a
that was-
major part of both
That
places,
was my Annie,
Honorary
our Annie.
and Moody.
Oh, yeah.
When you talking about maybe mom and dad didn't feel like it, or mom and dad was working, we were gonna hide the meal, because Annie was gonna
Oh,
cook.
yeah.
Annie was gonna
Annie
clean.
was the man.
Annie wasn't playing. You better clean up your room. You better.
I would never, ever,
All
ever,
of it.
ever forget.
Mm.
Me and Derek got into an argument. It was on a Saturday afternoon. I would never, ever, 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 ever forget. It was on Moody Avenue before we moved to Moody. Me and Derek had got into an argument, and he threw a picture frame at me and hit me right in the middle of my
I
head.
didn't try to hit her.
I was so mad. I went in the kitchen and I got a knife.
And she put it. She
And
came and
I
put it in my
stormed
chest.
at him,
But
and
see,
I
I
put
saw-
it in his chest.
And I saw.
And he saw Annie coming out the
I saw the
kitchen.
door wrinkling, so I said, "Go ahead, do it."
Crazy.
Like, yeah, I never
I
do
said,
it.
"Do it." Annie came in and saw. She get over here, Lisa.
Yes.
She tore up. I
And
was
I
over there
got in
laughing
trouble.
So you got
For
hit
him.
and got
She
Cause
was
he
bleeding all
threw-
because
yes.
she was bleeding coming
He
down
threw
the
a picture
Didn't get
frame
the
at me,
whooping
and
that
I was finna
over
get
there
him.
busting up. I was like, look at her, Annie. She got a knife.
I was finna get him.
Yeah, I remember that day. I wasn't gonna be
I
tough,
remember
but
it too.
when I heard that door open and I saw Annie come, I said, "Go ahead, do
I was
it."
I promise you, I was finna get you.
You been open them up.
Yeah, I said, "Annie, she got a knife."
He sure did. I was so mad. I was so mad. I was so mad.
I was in that room looking over there like,
He sure did. I was so mad. Ooh, I was so mad.
but I really did not try to hit her. I threw the thing, and you know how the corners are. So when I threw it, it bounced. And when it bounced, it hit
Look at her,
dead in the thing. I was like,
So
oh
mad. I
my
just
God.
had a flashback. I just got triggered.
That's a shame.
Yeah, that was crazy that day. That
Yeah,
was
but
crazy.
speaking of Marcus, that's funny that you say that, because in one of my conversations with mom, I asked mom, I said, like towards the end, like around 2017, 2018. I said, so what did you think about when you found out you was pregnant with me? And she told me, I said, what was on your thoughts? She said, Lisa, to be honest with you, I thought about everything. I thought about aborting you. I thought about trying to figure out ways to get rid of you. And I was like, for real, Mama? She said, yeah. So for you to say that she said that about you, it's interesting.
It showed everything we talking about. Y'all know what people be
You just
going
don't
through,
know what
they
people
dealing
be
with.
going through.
You know?
And she was married both times, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So that's so wild. That's wild. So yeah, this has been interesting.
Absolutely.
This is what happens at Moody Avenue.
Absolutely.
This is what happens every time we get together. We're just comfortable. We have open, honest conversations. We sit down, we relax, and we buckle up because we know it's going to take us on a ride.
Right.
We don't know where we're going to end up. We don't know how it's going to end up. But we know that we're always going to have a good time. We're always going to eat good food. And we're always going to look forward to the next day.
I'm telling you.
Yes.
So this has been Moody Avenue. I would like for you to go and subscribe to my YouTube page where you can subscribe to become a follower, and this will become a regular. Moody Avenue is just not a one-time event. It's a regular. It will be our regular family podcast. Just to be an example to show how families are supposed to get together, how they're supposed to be able to talk about any and everything, and allow and walk life's journey together.
Yeah.
Right. So, this has been Moody Avenue. Go to YouTube and subscribe to my page and to follow us. Until next time, we'll see you in Moody Avenue.
Next time.
Deuces.